was the winter of 1988. Japan was at the height of its economic boom, a time of optimism, prosperity, and safety. It was highly regarded as a safe place for its children and its citizens, but beneath that image of peace and progress lied a harsh reality.
The story of Junko Furuta is not just about violence, it's about failure. The failure of bystanders, the system and justice itself, and still decades later it forces us to question, why did this happen and how could this happen?
Yeah, 100%. So I think before we begin, my name is Kate.
I'm Abby.
And yeah, we're both... I think this case is very famous. I think
Yeah.
there's obviously a lot of discourse around it, and I think as a true crime fan, I can wholeheartedly say this is probably one of the most shocking, gruesome cases. And I think all throughout it, not even just the crime, I think from beginning to end
Everything that happens in it is just
Yeah.
absolutely how.
And how did it go wrong?
How did this go wrong?
Went so wrong. So before I think we get into the actual content and we'll run through just kind of what happened, just going to give a brief disclaimer. So this episode contains extreme violence, sexual assault, torture, and other disturbing content related to the Junko Furuta case. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The details discussed are graphic and may not be suitable for all audiences. Our intent is to inform and bring awareness to the realities of this crime, not to sensationalize or glorify it. And if you or someone you know has been affected by sexual assault or violence, please consider reaching out to local support services or a trusted organisation for help. So I think just before we kind of get into the true kind of what happened, just going to give some background on just who Junko Furuta was.
Yeah.
So she was born on the 18th of January 1971, making her 17 at the time of this case.
17.
Yeah,
Just
very,
17,
very young.
okay.
So she was a senior in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll kind of come to talk more about people that she knew within the school and stuff and how that ties in.
Okay.
So she grew up in a relatively quiet suburb in Tokyo called Misato, where she lived with her parents, her older brother, and her younger brother. She was well liked by her classmates and her teachers, and basically everything I could find on Junko said that she was model student. Honestly, perfect. All of her teachers said that she had a very bright future ahead of her, and according to her friends, she also had dreams of kind of just becoming a singer. And I think all of this is just testament to just how sad it is.
How young she was.
I know. So I'm gonna give a little bit of kind of context on Hiroshi. So this is one of the characters that will come in a little bit later as we
Right.
talk about the crime. So
Right, okay.
there's 4 boys involved, and Hiroshi was also in Junko's year group, and he was basically known to be a bit of a bully and a bit of a brag. He
Yeah.
was known for basically using the threat of the Yakuza very actively around his classmates.
What is the Yakuza?
So
What is it?
the Yakuza is basically Japanese mafia.
Right, okay.
And the threat of the Yakuza in the 80s was it was a lot more kind of prominent than it is now. The
Okay.
Yakuza's not got as much of a role in Japanese culture as it kind of did, but the Yakuza used to actually, they would kind of hire through schools. It was quite common for them to find kind of younger boys to recruit into the Yakuza. So him using this as a threat, it's completely valid and to why no one would not believe him.
Yeah.
But come to find out that this was not a member of a Yakuza, just a complete
Just a
liar,
young guy.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just gives a little bit of context into just Hiroshi that we'll come back into. But I think we should talk about the lead up to the events and the kind of the day
Okay.
where everything happened.
Yeah.
So Junko was riding her bike home from her part-time job. Just any normal day. As I said, Japan's pretty safe. There's no reason for a young girl to not ride her bike home. It was literally the norm. When 15-year-old Miyano, who is probably the youngest perpetrator without this, he was hiding in a bush and he jumps out at her and kicks her bike into a ditch. Junko is on the ground dusting herself off, trying to work out what the hell's just happened and why someone's just kicked her bike. When a little bit older boy, around about 18, basically comes over and offers to help. And he even claims about this younger boy. He goes, "Oh, he's a perv. Like, I can't believe he's just done that. He's even threatened me with a knife." So Junko, obviously, like, she's got no reason not to believe this guy. She's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go with you." He offers to take her home. It would never cross your mind. Like, I know if I was in that situation, would never even begin to cross my mind that those two people could be working together.
Yeah, I'd be
And
the
that was
exact
a
same.
ploy by both of them. Like, honestly, it's just crazy. It's like
Especially when they're
sickening.
both so young.
I
like,
know,
you wouldn't even think that
100%,
they'd have any
100%.
other
And
motives.
another thing, like, these boys did this regularly. It was actually like they were almost known as like kind of. It was a regular occurrence them finding women to sexually assault.
Yeah.
So Junko was honestly just some other, like, no significance to these boys, just other
another
than
victim.
just another victim, and it's disgusting. Honestly, there's a lot of like
Horrible.
discourse online about this boy, especially the older boy Hiroshi that we talked about, lying about being in the Yakuza. There's a lot of discourse online basically saying that Hiroshi asked Junko out.
Yeah, I've
and
heard a
like
lot
the
about
lead up
that.
to the crime, when that never happened. That was confirmed that Junko had a boyfriend at the time. She was in completely different, like they couldn't have been more different in school. And that, I just think it's interesting that was kind of, it's almost like a justification that the media tried to put on it.
Yeah, to be like, oh, this is why it's happened.
100%, which
Try
I
and
think
blame
is just,
her.
I think it's just crazy.
That's
like
insane.
actually insane that they could even,
But that's the media for you.
yeah, so to put it pretty simply, Junko had no affiliation to this boy before, other than being in the same year group. Like, they couldn't have been more different. So after this, the older boy, basically, and the younger boy, it starts off as just them two. Just
them.
and they take Junko to a nearby, like, abandoned, like, building. Like, first of all, Junko thinks that she's going home. Like, remember, she's, like, following this boy, just being like, oh, yeah, like, you're taking me home, when
Yeah,
it kind of
nothing
just
else
takes
in
a
her head.
turn. And so Junko gets initially, like, kept in a, like, just, like, an abandoned building. This was for, like, less than a day. Before Junko was then moved to kind of where she would then stay for, unfortunately, the next over a month. She was kept in Hiroshi's parents' house.
The parents.
Yeah, she was kept.
Oh, okay.
It's just, honestly, it's just crazy to me. Like, I think, like, one of the things that sticks out in this case, we'll talk about this more, is like just the bystander effect.
Yeah.
And just how so many people just turned like a blind eye to, like, this girl's suffering, even from the start. So Hiroshi phones two of his friends and he lets them know, basically, that they've got this girl and yada yada. And he basically ends up bringing those friends over, and to keep it relatively, obviously, I'm not going to go into like massive depictions of what she suffered, but she was beaten, starved, sexually assaulted, and tortured for a full 44 days. And the neighbours as well repeatedly heard noises and even saw Junko. But when the police were tipped off, they were told she was a girlfriend of one of the boys, and the police left the investigation any further. Just insane to me. I think there's a few things to note here. So, like, Junko phoned the police, first of all.
She herself phoned the
Yeah,
police.
she herself managed to get in contact with the police. I think this was around about, like, the 2-week mark.
Yeah.
And the police rock up to the house. They speak to the parents, it was Hiroshi's parents' house that she was kept at. And another thing to note as well is that Hiroshi's mum was a nurse. Like her, which
Alright.
I think it's actually
She should have
insane.
done some.
It's
Did they
insane.
know, or did they like?
Yeah,
turn a
like
blind eye?
fully aware.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the most shocking things. It's like, as a nurse, your job is to protect and to keep people safe.
Yeah.
It's your one responsibility, and to turn a blind eye to
Something that heinous.
it's crazy, honestly crazy. But as I said, like, just the negligence in this case is just, from start to finish, it just feels like this girl was just horrendously wronged. So over time, her injuries became so severe. She was unable to walk, use the bathroom, or even eat normally.
Yeah.
She was tortured to such a level that her whole body basically just started to shut down on her. But these boys, their whole thing was they wanted to keep her alive, and they would have kept her alive for as long as possible. But
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. So eventually, Junko didn't even necessarily succumb to her injuries. She ended up dying. The autopsy report says that she died choking on a piece of candy that she was eating. She wasn't fed, but she would be given like occasional dribs and drabs of food, and this is what it got stuck in her like esophagus, and that's how she died. Like, I just think that's one of the craziest things about this case is that the boys shouldn't even die from
the actual,
like, obviously, like, I think the only reason that she died choking on that candy is because her body gave up. But it's just tragic to me that, like, that's how she met her demise, because eventually it was...
Yeah, because we don't know how long they would have kept her there.
Yeah,
for.
100%,
Like,
100%.
maybe that was a blessing in disguise.
100%. It's just... It's terrible. It's honestly...
The killers placed her body in a 55-gallon drum filled with concrete, then dumped it in... I'm not sure how to pronounce this at all, but I'm going to try not to butcher it. Koto in Tokyo.
Yeah, crazy. I think it just shows, like, the way they discarded with her body.
Yeah.
I think that's, like, the...
Yeah, they were probably hoping not to be caught.
It's crazy. It's honestly crazy, like, just, like, the way she's...
Yeah, the way they put her.
I know.
And then the police later arrested the boys for another unrelated assault, so it had, like, nothing to do with Junko. I was about to say Yoko there. I don't know who that is.
In fact, there was 4 of them as well.
Yeah, there was
4 of them all fully, like, just as accountable than the other. So it's, like, really, I feel like it's quite uncommon that you come across, like, a crime where you've got 4, like, very, very, like, all of them had as big a part as the other. Like, obviously you could argue, like, Hiroshi kind of maybe instigated it initially, but I think without all 4 of them, like, influencing each other, it would not have gone to, like, what it did.
Yeah, all of them had their part to play.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's interesting to note as well, like, if you think of, like, a group of teenage boys, they influence each other negatively. I think no matter when this is, if this happened in the 80s, like, teenagers as a whole are terrible, terrible influences on each other because there's no voice of reason there. And, like, I just think it's crazy. And a lot of people will try and, I would say, almost, like, defend the boys due to their
boys
being
will be
young.
boys.
And also the fact that they're young. And it's just, I think it's just, like, a crazy take to have, honestly. Like, just because someone's young, they're maybe less, like... responsible for, like, their actions.
But when you're a teenager, you're still aware of what you're doing.
100%,
Like,
100%.
that that's wrong. You know you're right from your wrong. But
exactly.
There's no beating around the bush with this.
No, 100%, 100% no. Aged 16 to 18, which meant in Japan they received relatively light sentences, and I think this is probably, I think for me anyway, one of the worst parts of the case, just, like, the sentencing. I mean, to be honest, it did spark national outrage in Japan.
It did.
But it's just, like, it's not good enough. Do you have anything on?
The trial, right? So it started in July 31st, 1989. So
a long time after the crime.
It's a long time after.
Like,
they weren't actually charged for deliberate act of murder, and instead they were charged for causing bodily injury, which resulted in death.
Crazy.
Which is, like...
insane.
Oh, it's horrible. It's genuinely the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But the only one who was given the maximum sentence was Miyano. He was given 20 years, while the other boys were given, like, 5 to 9 years.
Yeah, I think all of the boys, I think it was, like, under 8 years, but I know some of them obviously were given, like, opportunity of parole. I think some didn't get the parole, so I think some, but
they all
besides the
ended
point,
out. They all ended out anyways.
Yeah.
Which is just horrible. People were obviously outraged that they weren't given the death penalty. But the Japanese Supreme Court established the Nagayama test, which is about. There's another case that happened in Japan, and Japan up until like not that long ago went by this. If there's like 9 different things that they go by, it's like the degree of viciousness, their motive, manner of commission, number of victims.
And this is like their kind of like code of rules for like sentencing.
Especially back then, especially for minors, because anybody under the age of 20 back then was a minor.
Yeah,
you couldn't do anything.
I also I'm probably aware of this. Within like the court, these boys were addressed as boy A, boy B, boy C, and boy D.
Yeah,
their real names were not even used. Their identities were protected, and I just think that's.
Yeah.
I think honestly, arguably one of the worst bits to protect their identity when Junko she wasn't protected by anyone.
She was actually. She was given letter E, which seems to be like.
It's just crazy.
The last one thought.
It's crazy to give the boys more respect than like Junko got. Like it's just it's crazy, and I think that it's like honestly
it's
that like
horrible.
The trial's like the craziest part. Like just all of them to be given anonymity is insane.
And it took newspapers and like the media to come out with their names.
Yeah,
which
literally.
Is like, I suppose in a way it's wrong, but I think it's completely deserved.
Yeah, 100%. Like I feel like the thing about this case that was really difficult, I think, was like trying to find reliable information on these boys, because obviously I think a really interesting like argument to bring into it is like nature versus nurture.
Yeah. And
it's like trying to find reliable news sources from just like I would say that is easily translated for someone that doesn't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
It's difficult to kind of see, because it's interesting to think about. Is like, do you think these boys they were born with this evil in them, or do you think this was something that like they developed over time for experiences for the people around them even?
Yeah.
It's interesting because some people would argue pure evil in that case, but
if they were in an area where people were going out saying they were a part of the Yakuza, then it could just be something like 100%. That to make them seem bigger.
I also think like an interesting thing to bring up is like Japan's treatment of women notoriously like. The country has not got a good history with I would say like equal rights when it comes to men and women. Like they're really, really bad. Even to this day, women are still really struggling in Japan. Like just like a modern day example that is like honestly still relevant to this is that all like iPhones in Japan, like so like the camera on your phone, like like the shutter click it makes, and obviously like. For us, we can turn that off. Like we just like put our phone on silent. But in Japan, because they've got such an active problem with like upskirting and people taking photos of women like in public toilets, like every single iPhone you buy in Japan has that built in, and you can't turn it off. It just shows like almost Japan's culture for women is. I think they are getting better. It's not to say that the country's not changed. Like 100%. Remember, this was in the 80s. Opinions have changed, but I do just think it's important to note, because I think it gives a little bit of context to the sentencing and just obviously the bystander effect. Like neighbours claim to have seen Junko.
The parents were in that same house,
and they all just turned a blind eye, and it's like it's really, really like almost confusing for me to like wrap my head around, because I could not imagine this happened like in this country. I find it so hard to believe that nobody would step in something for like 44 days. It's just it almost feels like very, very like corrupt in terms.
Corrupt, indeed. Oh, actually, most of them when they got out of jail reoffended. They reoffended, which I'm not surprised that they did with how many times they.
It happens like basically every time. Yeah. Which like doesn't, it just shows like the sentencing. It's like why
it's a waste of time.
Surely like it's literally like almost fact that people that commit violent crime reoffend. Yeah. Especially when they're young. Yeah. Like it's
They must have thought that, like, by rehabilitating them
Yeah.
and keeping them in, that they would have just, like...
It's just a privilege that men
Not done
have,
it,
really.
yeah.
Like, they're given a second chance when Junko never got... She never got any
She never got any
chance.
chance.
It's crazy to me. Just, yeah, no.
She never-
But, so Junko's case has been the subject of books, films. They made a film, like, which I personally have not seen. I've got no interest in personally watching a film on Junko Furuta.
Yeah, when they're making money off of it.
100%. It's nothing to glorify. But yeah, like I think we've covered a lot today on the case.
Yeah.
But I think one thing we're pretty sure of is that it's just shocking.
Yeah.
Something that I guess it's just one of those cases that stays with you, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that, like, parents would tell their children about.
Yeah.
To be
No,
like,
and I feel
just
like
stay safe.
I feel like Junko's story is not told enough. I mean,
Yeah.
people aren't aware of, like, sometimes the justice system does fail, and when it does, it's really bad. And,
Yeah.
But it's important to keep talking about these things and be...
Yeah. Because we might not be able to get justice on it, but
Yeah.
it's sort of like her legacy.
100%, and making sure that she's not forgotten and stuff.
Yeah.
That she's talked about.
Junko Furutas' story is one of unimaginable cruelty, but also a lasting reminder of why silence is never the answer. She was a bright, kind young woman who deserved safety in a world that cared enough to act. Let her memory push us to speak up, to protect, and never turn away.
Yeah, and thanks for listening to Motive and Means. If you would like to leave feedback, we have a Q&A below in the description of the episode. If you want to voice your opinion on if you think the sentencing for the boys was correct or not, and make sure to check out our socials. Our Instagram is at Motive and Means, and yeah, we'll see you next week.